Manor Lords was announced over the summer as a medieval RTS, created by a single developer. And while early footage of the game looked promising, you often find that auteur game development also leads to it never being released. But in the case of Manor Lords, I'm pleased to say I was wrong. With the release of a recent gameplay featurette, the newly minted Slavic Magic studio shows that Manor Lords is well on its way to release, and now is officially listed on Steam, with a likely early access build by the end of the year. Initially envisioned as an organic medieval building simulator with combat elements reminiscent of the Total War series, the game has evolved into a large sandbox-style map that promises conquest and construction, all with an eye to historical authenticity from the 11th to 14th centuries. The map of Manor Lords is divided into smaller territories that are not meant to represent any particular European location, but each will come with its own specific resources that can be exploited to further your lord's domain. Each region also comes with its own tech tree that can be used so you can specialize each region to a specific type of development. Continuing down a tree unlocks additional research and new specializations for a region, so that some can specialize in things like agriculture, growing additional food, while others are about gathering resources or even creating craft goods. The examples here being specifically pottery, blacksmithing, and wool, as well as some brewers and beer brewing, which were famous throughout the medieval era. I do want to point out, though, that this open pit mine pictured here is perfectly reasonable for something like gathering stone resources, but if it's something like iron or tin or copper, that deep mining and shaft mining had been around for at least 1,000 years by this point. But we'll see in the finished game if that's an additional technology to unlock. No word has been said yet on the interplay of these various resources, if something like charcoal production would be required for a blacksmith shop, as in the Settlers series, but it does seem like a complex resource-based economy is the focus of the game, as your towns will have market attractiveness scores and attract merchants to come to your villages and trade for the best bargains and prices. Merchants themselves will be the only way to directly acquire wealth in the game. As the feudal lord of a region, though, you will be expected to tax your settlers and settlements to further the development of your cities and armies. It's interesting that this game does include a feudal taxation system, most common being the geld, where the peasant or serf must pay his lord. The heergeld is a concept I've seen specifically in English literature from the period, intended for the recruitment of mercenary soldiers. And tithes are, of course, money given to the upkeep of churches. All tithes in this game will go directly to the church, but in exchange, the church will recognize your dominion and give you additional influence. If you continue to do well, your sworn liege and king will occasionally grant you boons of favor, and its rewards can include entirely new territories. One of the more unique additions in Manor Lords is a diplomacy system where you can communicate with neighboring lords by putting together a letter. You drag and drop what you would like to say to them and either gain or lose influence in diplomacy based on your statements to them. The original proposed military recruitment in the game left a bit to be desired and was a bit shallow, but thanks to player feedback and a developer willing to listen, it has been drastically overhauled and has been divided into 3 unit categories: peasant, mercenary, and lord's retinue. The first type is the basic peasant levy. You'll notice they can be upgraded to have advanced stats, and that there is a rather robust stat tree that comes with each type of unit. They're recruited from local towns and gather at a rally point of your choice, but know that if you recruit the peasants, you do lose production capability within your town. If you want to upgrade them to more advanced militia-style troops, you must build either a barracks or archery range to do so. The second type of unit are mercenaries, which are hired specifically to fight for you. These mercenary units come with preset unit types attached to them and are drawn from a pre-made list. You'll notice specifically Jomsvikings here, which were a Viking mercenary guild in the 10th and 11th century. The last type of troops is Lord's Retinue, which you create and equip yourself. Beyond just naming and cosmetics, you'll also know that each armor has an associated armor level, either 1, 2, 3, or 0, and too much armor seems to lead to a heavy designation through the icon at the bottom and likely debuffs to speed, while the choice of different weapons, either blunt, spear, or sharp, each seem to provide their own benefits. The general flow of the game seems to be starting with roughly the equivalent of Norman knights and building them into the juggernauts of the late Middle Ages, either through crafting at a blacksmith or purchasing the armor from elsewhere. The game is currently available to support through early access, and you can find it releasing on Steam. If you're at all interested in medieval real-time strategy games, I highly recommend you keep it on your radar. I can't begin to express how impressive it is that this entire game is being made basically by one person, all inside the Unreal game engine. The developer has proven to be extremely approachable, and I've even spoken to him myself on the subreddit. The changes made so far show a developer interested in crafting the best game possible. I'll be keeping an eye on it as it develops, and I hope you'll do the same. And as always, thanks for watching.